So Kenny, you're swimming here just a smidgen slower than Janet was swimming, just on around about 2 minutes. I didn't get your stroke rate, so let's just do that right away. So we've given you the stopwatches, which are in those horrible plastic things which are impossible to break out of. We've got some scissors kicking around somewhere. In terms of using your stopwatch to analyse somebody's stroke rate, if you bring it into this mode here where it says 0_0, I've got some scissors there. Maybe just pass these scissors around. You can practice this over the course of the weekend. But the way this actually works is there's a stroke rate mode on here, 0_0. So I'm going to analyse Kenny's stroke rate just now. So just as a bit of clarity on this, stroke count is a measure of how many strokes the swimmer is taking in a known length. So we might say that Kenny's taking 23 strokes in 25 metres. And you could work out that's his, oh thanks very much. An arm count, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, depending on where you are in the world, when people talk about stroke rate, which is a measure of how many strokes the swimmer is taking per minute, some swim coaches, the lady down in the pool deck here, when I was asking her, oh, what does such and such rate at? There's a swinger in the squad, and she had, I predicted about 90 strokes per minute, and she said back to me, she's got 46. What she's actually counting is 1, 2, 3. The reason we at Swim Smooth like to use 1, 2, 3, 4 is because when you do a stroke count, that's exactly how you count stroke count. In the old days, before the new tempo trainers came out with the ability to do strokes per minute, everyone used to refer to it as strokes, how many strokes per second the swimmer's actually taking. So what they do is 60 strokes per minute is 1 stroke per second. What you'd have to do is, if you counted, let's say you counted 54 strokes in a minute, if you were to count that, in the old tempo trainers, you'd have to put in 60 divided by 54, which would give you an outcome of 1.1, and you'd actually program 1.1 into the beeper. All gets a little, yeah, exactly. All gets a little bit complicated. So with this, let's just watch Kenny. The way you work the stroke count, the best view for this is from here. Look, this bird's eye view looking down. So when you get somebody into the frame here, look, you want to start the stopwatch when he reaches full extension on either the left arm or the right arm. With somebody who you identify as having quite an asymmetrical stroke, it's probably worthwhile doing it twice or 2 or 3 times and actually working out the average. You might see when we get to David, you're going to see a bit of a pause with your right hand and with yours as well, Shocky. So you're going to find at the front end of the stroke, a bit of pause might throw off the calculation of the stroke rate a little bit. But anyway, if that's the starting point right at maximum extension of Kenny's right hand here, we'll press the stopwatch now, and then what we'll do is what we'll then do is we'll press stop on the time he actually reaches the 3rd stroke. So as he reaches full extension, you count in your head 0, and you press start, and then you go 1, 2, and stop on maximum extension of the 3rd stroke. So one more time, it's 0, press your start, and it's 1, 2, 3, maximum extension of the 3rd arm, okay, going in. So let's give this a little bit of a try, shall we? And no doubt we'll get a wide-ranging numbers as we're going along. Even within the group, depending on obviously the accuracy of how you do this, we'll get a variety of different answers. Okay, but even within yourself, it's worthwhile doing it 2 or 3 times and working out the average. So, if we have a little go with this, let's start it when I say start. Ready? Not yet. Everyone got? Okay, it sounds like everyone's firing away. Let's do that again. Right, so I'll say start. Press go when I say go. Not yet. Let's do it again. All right, ready? Go. 1, 2, stop. What do we get? 67.8. Ooh! 70. There you go. 67.8. We must have exactly the same reaction time. Let's try that again. So just reset it. So when I say go, go. 1, 2, 3. I got 71.5 that time. So you can say, is the stopwatch inaccurate, or is it my judgment of his arm stroke, what we'd end up doing is maybe doing it a third time and taking an average of the 3 or 4 stroke timings. Okay.
How come you don't start the watch at the hand entry?
Well, you can certainly do it.
More easy.
You can certainly do it at the hand entry. From this position, the reason I've gone to this above water shot is you can clearly see when he reaches maximum extension before he starts to pull through. So long as it's the same point, you might say to yourself, I quite like to do it at the back of the stroke. You could start it there, look. And so long as
when you're poolside?
When I'm poolside, I always do it at maximum extension.
Maximum, okay.
Yeah, but so long as it's the same point, start and finishing point, you'll be fine. So over the course of the next 3 days, have your stopwatches with you. Okay, don't be afraid to have a little bit of a try with that. We'll just move on with this now. But Kenny, from this angle, look at that. Picture perfect hand entry into the water. No crossing over at all with that left arm. Let's watch the right. Bit of crossing over there with that right arm, look. And consequently, the legs just scissor kick apart a little bit, creating a little bit of drag. So when you breathe to your left-hand side, we just need to be a little bit careful about this crossover, causing the legs to then scissor kick apart. So let's look at your actual stroke. So we know, I think we're going to go for around about 68, 69 as the stroke rate from that. Nice controlled stroke. Underneath the water, we can see straight away, look, that the body position is on the low side. You knew that. That's how you introduced yourself. You said you used to drag the legs through the water there. Let's just pop that in there. Now, if we come to this angle here, get a nice close shot of this. What I thought was very sporadic with your stroke was the exhalation underneath the water. So we see here, look, there's no exhalation at all. We can also see from this angle, which maybe didn't pick up so much from the top, is that thumb first entry, look, into the water. So that combined with a smidgen of crossover with that right arm when you breathe to that left hand side could potentially stir up the shoulders. Hold on to your breath. And then one of the nice things about the this particular software, just try and get a little bit clearer with that. A little bit of exhalation happening here. It seems to be immediately after you breathe to your left, you actually start blowing out. But when you breathe to your right, look. Sorry, other way around, isn't it? Sorry. When you breathe to your right, you start blowing out immediately when your head goes back in. When you breathe to your left, for some reason, we're tending to hold on to the breath. And like we saw with Janet beforehand, the whole face looks a bit tense, a little bit rigid underneath the water.
It's interesting, Paul, because for 20 years, I just basically trained on fins. I used to go work early morning, 150 minutes in the morning about what's happening. Since I left there 4 years ago, I've actually been training with Pool Boy.
Right.
And I'm really conscious, my breathing's not a problem. I can be really relaxed on the side, 4, 5, 7, doesn't matter.
Sure.
It's very controlled. And
Yes.
I never hold my breath. What I did today, I've just come back from, I flew for about 5 weeks.
Yes.
I couldn't believe how out of breath I got. And
Right.
I was actually, when I thought, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to swim.
Yeah.
Without actually thinking about what I'm doing, and to see what happens.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see all the imperfections that come out.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I was swimming, I thought, I was literally getting out of breath very quickly. And I knew that I was holding my breath, and sometimes I was breathing every 2, every 3.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew it was
Weren't in a nice consistent pattern. Yeah. So that's
I'm aware of it, but that hand position is weird because when I'm on a Pool Boy, that goes in dead flat.
Dead flat, yeah.
Every single time, and I'm really surprised I just saw that.
Yeah, sure, yeah. If you think about it, using the Pool Boy and using the fins on such a regular basis, it's really masking the thing which is actually holding you back. But that's right, yeah. But to take it even to a further point, when you feel more comfortable being supported by, in brackets, an artificial aid like that, it probably allows you to actually tune up the other areas of the stroke quite nicely. And thinking more about it here, you're probably unable to think quite so much because you're swimming with that unaided, yeah.
I was more worried about people flat.
Yes,
Not sinking.
absolutely. Now, if we get quite funky with this, look, let's bring this stopwatch in here. That stopwatch there is accurate to 1/1000th of a second. If we watch when you start to exhale, maybe it's happening just behind this arm. No, not yet. There. See that first trickle coming out from the mouth? So this actually commences at 0.190. Then we go to take the breath to the other side. around about 1.7 seconds later. So for the first 2 or 3 seconds underneath the water, we completely held onto the breath, and then we blown out right at the last moment. Sometimes with some of you, I'll show you on this, you're actually only exhaling for about 0.3 or 0.5 of a second. So it's literally just a last blurt before you go to take that next breath of air in. And that can be very problematic from an aerobic perspective to make sure we're breathing out consistently. Again, look, the face held on. Start to blow out there. And probably blowing out for around about 1.5 seconds. Now, it's certainly not the in brackets worst within the group in terms of holding on, but when you've got an issue whereby the legs are sinking low, it's something that is certainly worthy of looking at. We can also see from this angle here, Kenny, as well, look, how that left arm is being used like a prop, pushing down, starting to press back, but look how straight the arm is when you're pulling through. So in terms of like sort of trying to deduct ideas about, you know, why are legs low in the water, I'd say a combination of the inconsistent exhalation underneath the water, the pushing down with the arm when you go to, especially when you go to take a breath to the side. So let's see if we can identify anything else. Crossover doesn't seem to be as major a problem as our friend Charles, who I showed you beforehand. But in terms of getting out of breath as well, if you spent a lot of time just using the pull buoy, you haven't really been having to kick. Here you're kicking because you're trying to get your bum and legs up higher in the water. When you're bending and flexing from the knee as much as what you're doing here, your quads and your hamstrings are pretty much going into overdrive, utilising a lot of oxygen energy. So a little bit of work on refining and tuning up your leg kick. You spent all those years track running, etc., you know, developing ankle stability to stop you rolling your ankles. Good freestyle swimming, and this is why you probably responded well to the fins, is they bring your feet into that more sort of plantar flex position and help you tune that up. So yeah, if we're going away from this, I would get you to breathe out a lot more consistently. Again, looking for those markers there, the same carotid artery look, as we saw with Janet. So it does look like both of you are quite tense in the water, learning to blow that out. Both of you, potentially for your body position, looking too far forwards in the water as well. So I'd be encouraging you to bring your head position down a little bit, and then working on the way you're actually pulling through, not pushing down quite so much on especially with this arm whilst you're going to take a breath to the side there. Okay. In terms of your stroke type, even though you're probably, we'll talk a little bit later on about personalities and stuff, I certainly wouldn't put you in the personality bracket of an Arnie, but the way you're actually swimming here, the way I'd actually work with you as a swimmer would be to follow the Arnie process for trying to get your bum and legs sitting up a lot higher there in the water.